Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Welcome, 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 everybody. Live stream here on a Friday the 9th. And sometimes things just don't work out. Things just don't work out. Because on the episode of PX3 that is out now, I have Bill Scher, a man whose opinion I greatly respect, on the program. And Bill Scher explains, I think credibly, that age has never materially affected a presidential race. It is often brought up, and it is found wanting as a cudgel to dislodge somebody from a presidential office, or really even any kind of, I think, statewide office too. I would say senator too, governor. It is cheap heat. And I do think that there is an argument to say that that's true. The counter to that is that, yeah, sure, it hasn't been a deterrent yet. It hasn't been a deterrent yet because the politicians just keep getting older. You know, what used to be old is now not all that old. I mean, let's take a look here. How old was Bob Dole in 96? Bob Dole. Yeah, you want to know? Let's do this. How old was Bob Dole in 1996?
Bob Dole was 73 years old in 1996.
Bob Dole is 7 years younger than Joe Biden is right now. And he was run out of that race in part because the man was just too damn old. I guess that would be the argument presidentially. But also that's a tough sledding because you're going up against a sitting president. If you're not aware of what we were talking about, Joe Biden had a real bad day yesterday. A special counsel report came out about his handling of classified documents. And here's the good news. He's not going to be charged. And for the record, I think that's the right move. I don't think that we should be chasing down everybody who has classified documents and throwing them in jail, at least on that level. Or at the very least, let's get an Ollie Oxen free where obviously decades of people not taking these laws seriously can be rectified. Some level of amnesty. The outcome of this upset me not at all. The rationale and the description of Joe Biden in the middle of this investigation, well, that's another matter entirely. Joe Biden, quite simply, was painted as a doddering old man who has serious, systemic memory issues. It was said that while listening to tapes with him and his ghostwriter in 2017, he had tremendous memory issues. And that while he was being interviewed in 2023, Joe Biden had tremendous memory issues. He had hard times remembering dates. He had hard times remembering when he was vice president. He even, and this became something that Joe Biden responded to directly, didn't exactly remember when his son died, Beau. The reason why Joe Biden is not having charges brought against him, according to this report, is that the special counsel does not believe that they would be able to get a conviction in front of a jury. They said that Joe Biden would Let's see if I actually have this here. That Joe Biden would present to the jury as he presented to them a kind-natured, elderly man with memory issues. And you're not going to be able to prove that he did that intentionally. Well, that's interesting. Joe Biden and the Democratic establishment was none too pleased with these results. And so Joe Biden called a press conference. You want to show vitality. I think we might even want to watch that. Let's watch this press conference. All right, hold on. Here we
more
go.
Prospects and grow our pipeline.
The sales team could become a
Sales dynasty.
As you know, the special counsel released his findings today about their look into my handling of classified documents. I was pleased to see he reached a firm conclusion that no charges should be brought against me in this case. This was an exhaustive investigation going back more than 40 years, even into the 1970s when I was still a new United States Senator. The special counsel acknowledged I cooperated completely. I did not throw up any roadblocks. I sought no delays. In fact, I was so determined to give the special counsel what he needed, I went forward with a 5-hour in-person interview over 2 days on October the 8th and 9th of last year, even though Israel had just been attacked by Hamas on the 7th and I was very occupied. It was in the middle of handling an international crisis. I was especially pleased to see special counsel make clear the stark distinction and difference between this case and Mr. Trump's case. The special counsel wrote, and I quote, "Several material distinctions between Mr. Trump's case and Mr. Biden's are clear," continuing to quote, "Most notably, after given multiple chances to return classified documents to avoid prosecution, Mr. Trump allegedly did the opposite. According to the indictment, he not only refused to return the documents for many months, he also obstructed justice by enlisting others to destroy evidence and then to lie about it. In contrast," he went on to say, "Mr. Biden turned in classified documents to the National Archives and the Department of Justice, consented to the search of multiple locations, including his home, sat for a voluntary interview, and in other ways cooperated with the investigation." And
There's those telltale things, and you can tell it with me when I'm reading, where you just put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. Sat. You just know, when people are reading things.
quote, "I've seen the headlines since the report was released about my willful retention of documents. These assertions are not only misleading, they're just plain wrong. On page 215, if you had a chance, I know it's a thick document. On page 215, the
X15 says, "I have to think that Joe was angry and single-handedly made this press conference happen, even though it was completely unneeded and there was plenty of Trump news to fill the void. This would have been forgotten if it weren't for the press conference." I don't think so. I believe this was going to be a story based on the report. The press conference is the right move if it's short and if it gets to the point that they want to. Right now, everything that he's saying right now, he should be saying, in my opinion.
report of the special counsel found the exact opposite. Here's what he wrote. "There is, in fact, a shortage of evidence that I willfully retained classified materials related to Afghanistan." On page 12, the special counsel also wrote for another documents, "The decision to decline criminal charges was straightforward. The evidence suggests that Mr. Biden did not willfully retain these documents. The evidence said I did not willfully retain these documents. In addition, I know there's some attention paid to some language in the report about my recollection of events. There's even reference that I don't remember when my son died. How in the hell did
So now here we go. Here we go. If you're going to draw the line between politically necessary, so you got to keep up with the flow of news. You want to make sure that everything that comes out has your spin on it. If you're going to move from that to this trickier subject, which is Biden's age and memory, there are some unflattering things said about Biden's age and memory, and you've got a couple ways that you can go with it. You can either say, this is absolutely incorrect, it's ridiculous, we're going to forcefully say that that is ridiculous, or you can ignore it and you can say, look, he's the president of the United States. The people elected him. We believe the people are going to elect him again. The opinions of this special counsel we thought were inappropriate, but we're not going to address them. That's the other way to go about it. Politicians in general, and I dare say Democrats more than Republicans, tend to react very, very, very forcefully when a thing they think is going to go their way doesn't. There is a betrayal with Democrats. Republicans get very angry, but there's always this level of like cynical resignation to it. Like, well, what do you expect? Of course, they're awful. They're the worst people in the world. Democrats are like, how dare you? How dare you, sir? But here we go. This is Joe Biden going into a very defensive "how dare you, sir" mode.
we raise that? Frankly, when I was asked the question, I thought to myself, wasn't any of their damn business. Let me tell you something. Some of you have commented, I wear since the day he died, every single day, the rosary he got from Our Lady of. Every Memorial Day, we hold a service remembering him.
Let's play that again.
He died. Every single day, the rosary he got from Our Lady of.
I mean, do you remember which church he got him from? Do you remember which church he got him from?
Every Memorial Day, we hold a service remembering him, attended by friends and family and the people who loved him. I don't need anyone. I don't need anyone to remind me when he passed away or passed away. Simple truth is, I sat for a 5-hour interview over 2 days of events going back 40 years.
I mean, it's also the issue. You don't need anyone to remind you. You didn't, according to the special counsel, didn't remember.
At the same time I was managing international crisis, their task was to make a decision about whether to move forward with charges in this case. That was their decision to make. That's the counsel's decision to make. That's his job. And they decided not to move forward. For any extraneous commentary, they don't know what they're talking about. It has no place in this report. The bottom line is the matter is now closed. I'm going to continue what I've always focused on, my job of being president of the United States of America. Thank you, and I'll take some questions.
All right, so here we go. 4 minutes, almost on the button statement. I would say about 3 minutes of it, you wouldn't argue with anything, any of the words that are written down, responding to it, drawing contrast between Biden's results and Trump's results. About a minute is seething defensiveness about the fact that somebody dared suggest that he did not remember the day his son died. And now we take questions.
Something the special counsel said in his report is that one of the reasons you were not charged is because, in his description, you are a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president, and I put this country back on its feet. I don't need his recommendation. It's
How
totally
bad is your memory, and can you continue as president?
My memory is so bad, I let you speak. That's what,
Oh, dude. From the beginning of his campaign in 2019, I've recoiled while Joe Biden speaks often because I genuinely feel for him. And if this is what mental decline is, then I am fearful of it. Because what I get from Joe Biden is that his brain is moving faster than his ability to speak. So Joe Biden was a very, very instinctual politician. He always was. He's a off the cuff kind of dude, very charismatic guy. And now these power pitches that have always been solid for him, now they're not. And that's got to be among the most frustrating things to hear this joke totally fall flat.
It's gotten worse,
So
Mr.
look,
President.
my memory is not good. My memory is fine. My memory, take a look at what I've done since I become president. None of you thought I could pass any of the things I got passed. How'd that happen? I guess I just forgot what was going on.
Mr. President,
Voters have concerns about your age. How are you going to assuage them? And do you fear that this report is only going to fuel further concerns about your age?
Only by some of you.
Mr. President.
It's just so defensive too. Like, if you look at how, trying to think of politicians that understood, look, there's a public fascination, but we have to move on. I'm not going to be talking about it. Like, that's to me the way you handle it. You handle it by saying, we're not going to spend a lot of time on it. People are going to talk. Obviously, I'm the president of the United States. A lot of people have a lot of opinions. We're going to leave it to the American voters. To spend time on it and say, no, my memory's good, you're framing it in a way that only asks for people to find times that your memory's not good. And now you are elevating to catastrophe status things that might not otherwise be. Let me remind you, Joe Biden had 2 campaign events over the last few weeks. He told the same story at both. It's part of his stump speech about the first time he came to a G7 meeting. And he comes to a G7 meeting. Emmanuel Macron, president of France, Joe Biden walks in, says, America's back. Emmanuel Macron says, yes, but for how long? And then Angela Merkel says to Biden, imagine if one day you turned on the television and the news was that 1,000 British citizens had stormed Parliament and killed 2 bobbies on the way in. How would you react? That's his story. In one version, he confused Emmanuel Macron for Francois Mitterrand, which, when you're at Mitterrand level at this point, you're closer to Charles de Gaulle than you are Emmanuel Macron. And then 3 days later, he confused Angela Merkel for Helmut Kohl. This has not been a great week for the old boy. It's not a great time for the exclamation point to be, we talked to you for 5 hours and holy shit, is this guy barely keeping it together? So when he gets defensive about it, you are only asking for people to pay more attention. This is where the PR element of politics becomes something that you really, really should pay attention to.
Criminal liability today. Do you take responsibility for at least being careless with classified material?
I take responsibility for not having.
Use Kayak to find the hotel you want at the price you want. Download the Kayak app now.
Seen exactly what my staff was doing. that goes in and points out things that appeared in my garage, things that came out of my home, things that were.
Let me also say this. I just think this is just not great. If you're just blaming your staff, my staff fucked up, my staff fucked up, my staff fucked up. It's not the end of the world, but he's like, I had no idea what my staff was doing. I mean, some people might say, the more things change, the more they stay the same, but it doesn't show great leadership, is my point.
Were moved not by me, but my staff.
Mr. President, for months when you were asked about your age, you would respond with the words, "Watch me." Many American people have been watching, and they have expressed concerns about your age.
That is your judgment. That is your judgment. That is not the judgment of the press.
They expressed concerns about your mental acuity.
Let's go back. So he's getting defensive. Like, there's got to be good answers to this. That, look, public polling is something that comes and goes. Right now, we're behind in the race, according to public polling. I don't believe that. I don't think the American people believe it. I think that the American people believe that on Election Day, they're going to go out and vote for Joe Biden in 2024. Hashtag finish the story. Like, that's what. If you get defensive about this, then you make mistakes. Like, listen to this, because he fucked up again.
And they have expressed concerns about your age.
That is your judgment. That is your judgment. That is.
So she says people have watched him. That's been his catchphrase. Watch me. Then she says, he says, "Oh, that's your judgment." He's like, "No, this is according to public polling." And listen to what he says.
The judgment of the press.
They expressed
That's not the judgment of the press. What he means to say is that's not the judgment of the people. That's your judgment. That's not the judgment of the people.
about your mental acuity. They say that you are too old. Mr. President, in December, you told me that you believe there are many other Democrats who could defeat Donald Trump. So why does it have to be you now? What is your
Because
answer to
I'm the
that
most
question?
qualified person in this country to be president of the United States and finish the job I started.
Do you believe that, Mr. President, why are you confusing the names of world leaders?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
I did not share classified information. I did not share it.
With your ghostwriter.
With my ghostwriter, I did not. Guarantee you did not.
But
What-
I mean, the special counsel said he did.
council said it.
Well, no, I did not say that.
Okay.
He did not say that.
But Mr. President, one of the.
Let me
Okay,
answer
thank
your
you.
question. The fact of the matter is, what I didn't want repeated, I didn't want him to know, and I didn't read it to him, was I had written a long memorandum to President Obama why we should not be in Afghanistan. And I was multiple pages. And so what I was referring to, I said classified. I should have said should be private because it was a contact between the president and the vice president as to what was going on. That's what it is referring to. It was not classified information in that document. That was not classified.
Fallen Shroud, or sorry, not Fallen Shroud. Who is it? Stoic Squirrel says that he meant the judgment of all the press, not just this lady. I don't believe so, because he's talking about the people. Is that because he lumps the press or most of the press all together? He thinks that the press is groupthink.
He called on me. When you look back at this incident, is there anything you would do differently now? And do you think that a special prosecutor should have been appointed in the first place in both of these cases?
All right. By the way, if you are the press secretary, that question should have went first. You should have went first with that question. Is there anything that you would have done differently? Have you learned anything through this process? That is a tacit acknowledgement that this process needed to happen. It is a way for you to, do a little bit of a mea culpa here. This should have been the question that they took first.
First of all, what I would have done is oversee the transfer of the material that was in my office, in my offices. I should have done that. If I go back, I didn't have the responsibility to that. That was my staff was supposed to do that, and they referenced that in the report. And my staff did not do it in a way that, for example, I didn't know how half the boxes got in my garage.
I mean, I don't know if this is the flex they think it is. Biden talking about how out of it he was back then. I don't know how half the boxes got in my garage. I mean,
I found out staff gathered them up, put them together, and took them to the garage in my home. And all the stuff that was in my
Waffle, wait, so the press secretary picks the questions, or is the fact that old man Biden picks them up farce? Okay, so oftentimes what will happen is, the press secretary has a relationship with the White House press corps. Things will be given to people on background. You'll have little scrums where things are not, you don't want to have anything be attributable, but there is an element to it. So theoretically, the press office of the president should know what people in general are going to ask. And then you can direct Biden to pick from the people that you want. You can say, all right, go to the AP, they're in the front row, go to NBC, they're in the second row, and then go to ABC, they're in the middle. You can tell people that. Now, does Biden follow directions? I mean, that's another question. I don't think that it's much in debate that this did not go the way that a press office would want it to go.
home was in filing cabinets that were either locked or able to be locked. It was in my house. It wasn't out in Mar-a-Lago in a public place and none of it was high classified. Didn't have any of that red stuff on it. You know what I mean? Around the corners? None of that. And so I wish I had paid more attention to how the documents were being moved and where. I thought they were being moved to the archives. I thought all of it was being moved. That's what I thought. Now, what was the last part of your question?
Whether a special counsel should have been appointed in this case and in the case of your rival former president.
I think a special counsel should have been appointed. And the reason I think a special counsel should have been appointed is because I did not want to be in a position that they looked at Trump and weren't going to look at me, just like they looked at the vice president. And the fact is they made a firm conclusion. I did not break the law, period. Thank you all very, very much.
And here we go. All right. So rocky, but not disastrous. You know, you can write it off as, the president, he was very mad. He was so mad about the fact that the report mentioned his son. That was out of line. He was really pissed off. And, so that explains it. If that's how it ends. But Joe Biden does his James Brown impression. I want you to watch this entire clip. I'm going to play it up until the moment that has made headlines.
The hostage negotiation. I'm of the view, as you know, that the conduct of the response in the Gaza Strip has been over the top. I think that, as you know, initially, the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian material to get in.
The what now?
So, initially, the president, as you know, the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian material to get in.
One more time for people in the back.
So, initially, the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian material to get in.
Of course, Sisi that he is talking about is the president of Egypt that also borders the Gaza Strip. This is Joe Biden taking credit for being a world leader to help humanitarian efforts.
I talked to him. I convinced him to open the gate. I talked to Bibi to open the gate on the Israeli side. I've been pushing really hard to get humanitarian assistance into Gaza. There are a lot of innocent people who are starving, a lot of innocent people who are in trouble and dying, and it's got to stop, number one. Number two, I was also in a position that I'm the guy that made the case that we have to do much more to increase the amount of material going in, including fuel, including other items. I've been on the phone with the Qataris, I've been on the phone with the Egyptians, I've been on the phone with the Saudis.
Here's the other thing. I just think this is a weak sauce answer. Like, why would you go back and talk about, oh, I've been working really hard. Boy, I've worked really hard. Just speak in declarative sentences. When we brokered the ceasefire, I was happy to have the cooperation not only of Prime Minister Netanyahu, but President Sisi of Mexico, of Egypt. I very much look forward to continuing that process. It is an absolute heartbreaking loss of life that is happening during this war, and we will continue to work both behind the scenes and publicly to continue to further the aims, our humanitarian aims. The aims of the United States is to make sure that, in this horrifying situation, that we are as humane as possible. But I got on the phone and I called this guy and I called that guy. Like, you're just showing yourself to be weak. You're showing yourself to be impotent. You're saying I talked a lot and nothing got done.
As much aid as we possibly can into Gaza. There are innocent people, innocent women and children who are also in badly in need of help. And so that's what we're pushing. And I'm pushing very hard now to deal with this hostage ceasefire because, I've been working tirelessly in this deal. How can I say this without revealing it? To lead to a sustained pause in the fighting, in the actions taking place in the Gaza Strip. And because I think if we can get the delay for that, the initial delay, I think that we would be able to extend that so that we could increase the prospect that this fighting in Gaza changes. There's also negotiations. You may recall in the very beginning, right before Hamas attacked, I was in contact with the Saudis and others to work out a deal where they would recognize Israel's right to exist, make them part of the Middle East, recognize them fully in return for certain things that the United States would commit to do. And the commitment that we were proposing to do related to two items. I'm not going to go in detail, but one of them was to deal with the protection against their arch enemy to the northwest, northeast, I should say. The second one, by providing ammunition and material for them to defend themselves. Coincidentally, that's the time frame when this broke out. I have no proof what I'm about to say, but it's not unreasonable to suspect that the Hamas understood what was about to take place and wanted to break it up before it happened.
Well, so here's the other thing. I hate that line. That line means, because by the way, Saudi Arabia said this week, while our Secretary of State was in Riyadh, which is a slap in the face, in my opinion, that the kingdom would not recognize Israel until there was a Palestinian state with a 1967 border. Things that are not going to happen for 500, Alex. The State Department spun that as saying, well, but they might also be into Israel promising that they would work toward it for recognition. But that's not what Saudi Arabia said. And so whenever you say Hamas initiated October 7th, because America was leading a normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel, and Saudi Arabia just says that normalization ain't coming anytime soon, then that means Hamas won. You, by your own narrative, the State Department, are saying that Hamas won. They did it. They got something. They got something for that attack. And it's your narrative that reinforces it. I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like this game is being played way too shallow. And this is about like actually caring what the press thinks, or actually caring how things are going to get spun. You know, we're talking about big wheels here. We're talking about some tectonic plate stuff. This ain't about something, you know, so crude.
Thank you, everybody. We're going to need everybody to hold for a moment.
And there we go. Obviously, the thing that wound up going viral was Joe Biden. See, I'm not immune to it. Was Joe Biden saying that Sisi was the president of Mexico when he is the president of Egypt. This is the third world leader that he has mistaken. The good news is Sisi's alive. Making progress. Francois Mitterrand and wait, is Helmut Kohl dead? Hold on. Is Helmut Kohl dead?
Yes, Helmut Kohl, the former Chancellor of Germany, passed away. He died on June 16th, 2017.
Okay. So yeah, at least Sisi's alive. Francois Mitterrand, Helmut Kohl, not so much. An hour later, Trump mixed up Turkey and Hungary. Yeah. I mean, look, Donald Trump isn't as sharp as he used to be. Like we said, you know, it was a really bad, embarrassing gaffe when he referred to Nancy Pelosi as Nikki Haley 3 times. That's like a standard. That's like an old school gaffe. That's like an old, you know, in an age where not much in politics is normal. That was like, you know, a good old fashioned gaffe. But, you know, this, this is, let me put it this way. I believe Joe Biden is going to be on the ballot. I believe Joe Biden has, you know, a 50 to 51% chance of winning the presidency. I believe that now, as I talk to you on Friday, February 9th. And I don't know if we've ever been closer to what I have thought is a possibility, and that is the Biden medical announcement. Biden's going to Prince Charles. He's never going to step aside because he doesn't think he's going to win. Joe Biden would step aside because, you know, he's found some elevated levels in his blood. And while it's not cancer, they're going to take the time to treat it, and it would be unfair to the party and to the country when he should be out there campaigning. Because, you know, he's got people out here slamming this special counsel, saying Biden is not old and confused. He's not old and confused. He is not old and confused. Okay. Well, then he should be charged. Because that's the reason why the special counsel said they didn't bring charges. The other question is, well, exactly how much do you want to put that guy out on the campaign trail? Because we're in February. He had 2 campaign events and he made headlines twice for saying something stupid. He tried to defend himself against a good special counsel result. But instead of playing the result, they got upset about how it was said. And then he made another mistake. So, like, you know, what are we doing? What are we doing? I want to show you guys something else, too. Oh, by the way, I'm going to the border. I am going to the border by way of the Coke machine. It's no longer the Koch brothers. It's just one Coke. But the nonprofit organization aligned with, well, to be honest, I don't know exactly who's paying for it, but I know it's in the Koch orbit. But they are hosting people to go down to the border. What is fascinating is that they are an organization that has pushed, both through policy and perception, enhanced immigration, more legal immigration. And they are now bringing people to the border because they don't believe that they can even have a conversation about enhanced legal immigration as long as the border is what it is. So I'm going to be totally transparent with exactly how it goes down and what happens. I don't know exactly how much content, if at all, I will make from it, but I do want to see it. And I met the dude in New Hampshire that's putting it together, and he seemed like a nice enough guy. This is not the first time that I've taken a paid opportunity to go view something. I feel like I've got an objectivity enough to understand everything in context. And so we will see how that unfolds. That's going to be not next week, but the week after. It's a 3-day junket down on the southern border of Texas. Do you know which part? I think down by Eagle Pass. I think we're going to be going to the Eagle Pass thing. All right. Let's take a look at this. We'll switch over to the Republican primary here for a second. This is Super Tuesday morning consult polls. Oklahoma, Trump plus 77. Alabama, Trump plus 75. We're going to skip these two for a second. Tennessee, Trump plus 63. Virginia, Trump plus 59. North Carolina, Trump plus 54. And Massachusetts, Trump plus 41. All right, if you're Nikki Haley, you want to be able to play in states like Massachusetts, Virginia, North Carolina, and Kevin Bacon. You know that you're going to get trounced in places like Alabama and Oklahoma. But here's the problem for Nikki Haley. At a certain point, you need delegates if you're going to win. Well, the vast majority of the delegates that will be given out in this process will be in Texas and California. So, yeah, you're getting smoked. You're getting smoked like ganja, like California weed. You're getting smoked like a brisket. You know, when people are like, oh, you know, this, we should have, nobody got to vote, blah, blah, blah. Look, at a certain point, it is not incumbent upon any campaign or candidate to undergo ritual humiliation. And if Nikki Haley thinks that losing her home state by 30 points, let's see if we have any new polls there, by the way. Oh, by the way, we have more from morning consult. This is the same thing. How about the Georgia Republican primary? 83-71. Florida, 85-14. Arizona, 75-23. Illinois, 78-20. Ohio, 83-16. Let's see. South Carolina, come on and raise up. All right, so we have some newer polls. Same old story. Washington Post, Monmouth, Trump plus 26. Morning Consult, jeez Louise. They've got it at 68-31, a 37-point spread in Nikki Haley's home state. I mean, come on, guys. Guys, what are we doing? What on earth are we doing? Nikki, name a more baffling Nikki, Haley or Minaj, recently. What's going on, Nikki? What's going on, Nikki, is a question for which you can ask. What happened with SCOTUS? So I don't know when they're going to rule on the Trump 14th Amendment case, but according to all the SCOTUS watchers, what went down yesterday was about what was expected, which is that from all over the ideological spectrum, there were a lot of very, very skeptical questions as to the legitimacy of the 14th Amendment ruling from the Colorado Supreme Court. Nobody who watches SCOTUS really expected for this to be something that was going to go well for that ruling. The question was whether or not it was going to be 9-0. And based on the questioning, at least the reporting about the questioning, it sounds like it's going to be 9-0. At some point, Nikki has to start looking ahead. The question is, what is ahead for her? Does she want to be in politics? Because if she doesn't, then that's fine. She doesn't have to be in politics. She can just, be who she is. She could just kind of, she could do the Paul Ryan. Do the Paul Ryan. You're on a bunch of boards. You do a bunch of private speeches. It's a good time. Yeah, she wants to be on the, she go back to the Boeing board. I hurt my knee on the treadmill today. It's really annoying. Nothing's more annoying than waking up at 5:30 in the morning so you can get to the gym by 6:15 and then you hurt yourself within the first 10 minutes of class. Oh. All right. What do you guys want to talk about? Hit me up in any of the chats. We are, of course, live on YouTube. We're live on Twitch. We're live on X. And if you follow me on TikTok, Justin R. Young, then maybe one day we'll be live on TikTok as well. Will there definitely be no debates? Well, the RNC left the debate commission. So there is no third-party entity that would be setting these things up. But ultimately, both campaigns have to agree to it. The best reason why you would say that there would be a debate is if Biden's behind. If Biden's behind and they would want to shake up the race, then they would be more willing to do it. And right now, he is behind. Now, will he be behind by debate time? Well, that's a different story. Right now, let's take a look. General election. Trump versus Biden. We've had it actually close a little bit. Widest it was, Trump plus 4.3. Now it's like Trump by 2. But it has danced, between 4.5 was pretty much the longest that it was. But, I don't know how much this race is going to change. Listen to Bill Scher on today's episode of the show, and he will tell you that what's going to change is that the economy is going to be good for long enough that people will begin to give Joe Biden credit for it. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know. Because inflation tends to be something that people don't forget quickly. Inflation is a problem. Inflation is a problem today. It was a problem yesterday, and it will be a problem tomorrow. In a situation where you have a recession, where people are high unemployment, that begins and ends with when you lose your job and when you get a new job. Inflation is persistent. Inflation is insidious. Inflation is psychologically warping. And I just don't know if that is the same kind of switch flip that, like, there being high unemployment and then there being low unemployment would be. Putin was throwing out Polish psyops and Catherine the Great in his interview. I did not watch anything but the first probably 5 minutes of the Tucker Carlson Putin interview. I found very amusing Tucker Carlson's preamble of him saying, we asked Vladimir Putin a very simple question at the beginning, and he rambled for 30 minutes about Russian history. And we thought it was a filibuster, so we tried to break in. He got annoyed. We got annoyed. But in rewatching the tape, we do believe that he was being serious. I also wonder whether or not that's the kind of stuff you say when you want to make sure you get on your flight back to Washington, D.C. But I took a screen grab and I couldn't figure out the right tweet for it. It was Tucker Carlson making the Tucker Carlson face while looking at Putin, and just the subtitle saying Prince Yaroslav the Wise. And I was trying to think of like what the funniest tweet would be of like when the motherfucker keeps bringing up Prince Yaroslav the Wise. Why wouldn't you just not say a thing until you're over the Atlantic and actually start making statements? Well, I mean, he was shooting. I think they wanted to get this out as soon as possible. And I don't have a problem with Tucker Carlson doing this interview. I think it is an interesting indicator. Vladimir Putin is not somebody that I think puts on airs. He is not the politician. And what I saw in the first 6 minutes, and I'll watch the rest, but like what I saw in the first 6 minutes was him doing what I have seen him do, which is explain the historical context for why he believes he is reassembling the Russian Empire, not the USSR. The Russian Federation, the organization that existed before the USSR. That is what Vladimir Putin wants to reassemble. The USSR got unwieldy, but he wants the Russian Federation. But I'll watch it. I don't know. Did anybody else watch it? Did anybody watch the whole thing? Did anybody get anything out of it? I mean, apparently Tucker was interrupting Putin. That's what he was saying in his intro, that he was interrupting Putin, and Putin was getting annoyed. That's probably a less than ideal situation. Definitely pucker in your butthole on that one. ATL John Boy, I just finished all of it. Well, give me the highlights. I don't know. Do you want me to watch it here? We can watch it here. The only thing I got to do today is weird things at 1:30, and then we're going to do our Super Bowl shopping this afternoon. A leader that can speak, what a concept. Trust me, dude. That's why God created Dan Carlin. I can listen to that dude about world history. I don't need my leaders to know about it. I need my leaders to do what is best for us. You get into this historical context shit, you can get yourself into some real trouble. Tucker asked harder questions than anybody who's interviewed cosplay Zelensky. Look, I don't think that Volodymyr Zelensky is beyond criticism. But also, I would not like to be in his shoes. That's a rough spot to be in. That's a rough spot. Shartin Fartin says, I will lead. Shout out to Shartin Fartin. Here we go. Let's make sure that we let Shartin Fartin will lead if called. If called. Oh, is Hillary on MSNBC? Can somebody find that clip? We'll watch that clip. It's in the people's hands. Shartin Fartin, you can't do any more. You will lead if called. That's all anybody could ask for. Tucker asked who bombed the pipeline. Well, I mean, we said it was going to happen. You know, Joe Biden did do the, nice pipeline here. It'd be a real shame if something happened to it. All right, here we go. Yep. There we go. That's the one problem with Restream. I like Restream in general, but it is not great for finding links in the chat. Okay, here we go. This is MSNBC. Alex Wagner tonight. It's amazing that there still is a portion of this country that believes that American opposition are controlled by Vladimir Putin. Like in the 2015, 2016 kind of way. In the Russian P tapes kind of way. Because she didn't get the job. There's a yearning. There's a yearning for people that, have a history of an enemies list. There's a yearning for people who want to let personal grudges continue to go on forever. Have I mentioned that Bernie Sanders is a total piece of shit? There's a yearning for people like that. And they went with Pepsi over Coke. I was the one. I could have given them all of it. Wait, how is that? Oh, you want to know what? Oh, shit. So you guys didn't get sound on that. The audio never came through. That's fascinating because I was playing it off of the same browser. Let's see if you guys can hear this. We have learned a lesson here. I cannot play sound from the Chrome browser.
A band leader, if you will, for this faction of Republicans who are defeating these bills, was in Moscow interviewing Vladimir Putin. I asked Secretary Clinton about that journalistic endeavor, and this is what she had to say.
So there we go. That's been the problem. And that, by the way, is also a good sign because I can always see the chat if it's playing on another window. When I'm playing it within Chrome, I can't see the chat because the chat's on Chrome. But that's the problem, friendly, is if I'm playing it on Chrome where the chat is, then I can't see the chat if it's on Chrome. So it should be on different browsers so I can see the chat and I can do that. Okay. Good. All right, so let's play it again.
Tucker Carlson is in Moscow right now interviewing Vladimir Putin.
Right.
The first American, I'll say, journalist to interview Putin since the war in Ukraine began. What does that tell you about Tucker Carlson and right-wing media and also Vladimir Putin?
Well, it shows me what I think we've all known. He's what's called a useful idiot. I mean, if you actually read translations of what's being said on Russian media, they make fun of him. I mean, he's like a puppy dog. He somehow has, after having been fired from so many outlets in the United States, I would not be surprised if he emerges with a contract with a Russian outlet because he is a useful idiot. He says things that are not true. He parrots Vladimir Putin's pack of lies about Ukraine. So I don't see why Putin wouldn't give him an interview because through him, he can, continue to lie about what his, objectives are in Ukraine and what he expects to see happen. It's really quite sad that not just somebody like Tucker Carlson, who has, as I said, been fired so many times because he seems unable to, correlate his reporting with the truth, but also because it's a sign that there are people in this country right now who are like a fifth column for Vladimir Putin. And why? I don't know. I mean, why are certain Republicans throwing their lot in? Why are, other Americans basically believing Putin? Why did Trump believe Putin more than our 11 intelligence agencies?
I don't know. Do you have a working theory?
I do have a working theory.
So that's what I was saying. It is amazing that is well, we all know that Trump's a Russian asset.
But it's more than just the political partisan advantage. There is a yearning for leaders who can kill and imprison their opponents, destroy the press, lead a life that is one of impunity, unbound by any laws. There's a yearning among certain people in our country for that kind of leadership. And I find that absolutely gobsmacking terrifying.
Look, there are weaknesses and strengths to all political parties and political classes and all politicians, really. What I like to think of, and I've encouraged everybody who listens and watches any of the things that I do, is to think of politicians and parties kind of like D&D characters, where you've got strengths and weaknesses. Or, you know, a character in a video game where you're able to dial up your strength and dexterity and stuff like that. Same idea. A weakness for a certain brand of Democrat is being smug and holier than thou. The idea that I could really get this country on the right track if these idiots would just get out of my way. These stupid, uninformed morons clinging to their gods and guns, to paraphrase. You know, if they would just, these superstitious morons would stop fucking their holes in the ground for long enough to realize that I got the goods. If they would stop, oh boy, and this is my least favorite phrase in all of politics. If they would stop voting against their own interests, then we would be cooking. I think the best Democrats are able to avoid that kind of perception, and the worst kind drive right into it. And it's part of the reason why we didn't have a President Hillary Clinton. Like white men voting against progressive. We were late into the show on We're Not Wrong, so I didn't want to get into Jen on that, but we will eventually. If she says it again, I will point out. I loathe the phrase "they are voting against their own interest" because it's so self-centered that any one person knows what is in the best interest of their neighbor. I don't know what's in the best interest of you. I know what's in the best interest of me. I can make a recommendation for what would be in the best interest of you, but I would never presume that my idea is the best. I would hope to persuade you. I would hope to say, look, I think these ideas are better. I think that these ideas can help you. But to assume and to know that they're right, there's an arrogance there that is just baked into that phrase that I hate. Paul on X. Yeah, you're right. Literally the difference between Bill and Hillary Clinton. It is literally the difference. Bill was, I feel your pain. I feel your pain. I mean, there's also like, Jesus, you look back at Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton is basically to the right of Mitt Romney. Like, it shows you we have our political lenses have tilted. Bill Clinton is now a center-right president. The older I get, the grosser Bill Clinton's behavior becomes. I mean, look, here's the thing you can say about Bill Clinton. In general, Bill Clinton took care of the girls. He tried to do his best to take care of the girls. He wasn't Tiger Woods, where he would just ghost them. He wasn't Vince McMahon, where he offered to pay him a bunch of money and then only paid him a third of it. At least when he was out there doing dirt, he was trying to take care of the girls afterward. Now, he lied about it under oath. Not great. Not great. But it took a lot to make Monica flip on him. I mean, it took the tape to make Monica flip on him. I mean, there was the Epstein Island, and there is Juanita Broaddrick. Juanita Broaddrick got mad and stayed fucking mad at Bill Clinton. I mean, that was the first Bill Clinton's a rapist thing, was Juanita Broaddrick. And the first time I read about that was it was Bill Hitchenson's, no, Christopher Hitchenson's book, No One Left to Lie To, which was like one of the OG shredding the Clintons. Yeah, she still goes after him. Of course she's still. This has been, Juanita Broaddrick's thing. Trump liked to pal around with old Jeff Epstein. Well, they lived in the same area. Epstein, I guess technically, Epstein split his time between Palm Beach and New York City. So I guess by the time that Bill moved to New York, he was closer. But, the social circles of rich guys, you were going to run into each other in Palm Beach if you are Jeffrey Epstein and you're Donald Trump. I noticed you took down the Restream chat. No, I didn't. I'm using Restream right now. Do you mean that I'm streaming to Restream? I think I'm streaming to Restream. I mean, I'm using Restream to stream to YouTube, Twitch, and X. I didn't know if they have their own portal for it. Oh, you mean I don't have the chat overlay here? Yeah, you want to know what? I'm not using the chat overlay because I want the clips. I want to make clips, especially for a day where we know we're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff. I want to get clips so I can post them. That's the biggest thing. Yeah. I'm not showing the chat on the screen, but it doesn't mean I am using Restream. I am just not showing the chat on the screen. We can show chat on screen, though. I think I'm done. I'm done talking about anything that I would want to make a clip for, so we can do that. Did you hear Denver's going bankrupt? I have not heard that Denver's going bankrupt. Should we look that up? I'm glad we figured out that Chrome thing. Because, boy, was it frustrating. Yeah, I don't see any news here on Denver bankruptcy. There's something about a bookstore filing for bankruptcy. Yeah, ATL John Boy. We talked about that to open it, and we watched his press conference from last night, which was not ideal. Not ideal for the old boy. It's rough, man. It's rough. It's rough being old. X15, can we settle on a de facto chat room? No. Everybody, all I got was people saying, got to stream on more places, got to stream on more places, got to stream on more places. Well, that means we're getting multiple chat rooms. People are going to chat wherever the hell they want. That's fine. We've got one unified place. We can throw it up on screen if we want. Otherwise, I can see everything that comes in. I've responded to stuff on X. I've responded to stuff on YouTube, responded to stuff on Twitch. Obviously, Twitch is going to be the busiest chat room. But that's it. That's it, and that's all. I live in Denver. It's not going bankrupt, but the increase in immigrants that are being dropped off downtown are certainly concerning. Have I watched any of the Channel 5 videos on the border migrant issues over the last couple of weeks? Pretty compelling. No, I have not, Ketis. What is the takeaway? If you hate Twitch, we'll all switch to YouTube. I don't hate Twitch. I'm just not exclusive. There was a time where I was very loyal to Twitch. That time is coming past. There should be a mandatory retirement age for elected officials or judges, top to bottom, on the day of their 75th birthday. Yeah, I mean, look, Nikki Haley's running on age limits. Dean Phillips is running on age. I'm with Bill Scher that I think that it is unproven that it is an effective political strategy. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/@politics. You can find us there. Find us there. Clips of the show, full interviews from the show, and at some point we'll put up full video episodes because I am recording everything fully on video. The question is, there's some production ideas on, all right, well, how do we get the audio to match? Because I do the audio in post, so we'll see. Biden needs to eloquently explain why we're wrong about the economy. Yeah. The Supreme Court, I don't know. I'm fine with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is what it is. It's the only for life appointment that we have in America. I do think that it allows people to rise above where they were when they were appointed. We only see a few, like, even with people whose opinions you disagree, their shit is pretty consistent. It's not like they swing wildly from point to point. Do it live. I'll write it. We'll do it live. Remember when Joe called that guy fat? Yeah. Listen, fat. What do you want to do? Push-ups? All right, I'm going to say this, and I want everybody to take it in the spirit in which it's offered. I know I'll get in trouble for saying this. But there are some politicians that you would say, whether or not you agree with them, are smart. Like raw intelligence smart. Like would be able to tell you a bunch of things, are very, very well read on various issues. And then there are those that act more on instinct. They are charismatic. They're leaders, but they're not necessarily the smartest guy in the room. And sometimes they know it and they use it to their advantage. Sometimes they don't know it and it can be a liability. Throughout his most effective years, Joe Biden was not smart. He would not be considered to be an intellectual heavyweight. A very charismatic politician, a very well-liked politician, great at street-level politics, shaking hands, kissing babies, that kind of stuff. You put Joe Biden in some Catholic carnival in Pennsylvania, he's going to fit right in. Everyone's going to love him by the end of it. But not the kind of dude that can outthink his way out of things. He's going to out charisma his way out of things. And now he doesn't have a lot of his strengths, regardless of whether or not you think he should be reelected, because we have a binary decision coming up. I don't think anyone would say he's the same dude as he was 10 years ago, let alone 20. Biden isn't the brightest bulb in the pack, but certainly grades above Trump. Trump isn't a smart man. I mean, this gets into the anyone we don't like is stupid. Everyone that we like is smart. I would consider them to be around the same amount of intellectual curiosity. I will say that the thing that Trump has always been best at is something that he's still very good at, which is messaging and narrative shaping. That was Donald Trump's entire life. His entire life is getting attention and shaping the narrative. And he's still very good at that. Where Joe Biden's best, his power pitch was, being a charismatic hub in Washington, D.C., and I don't think he's particularly good at that anymore. We should pin down the D&D stats. All right, hold on. Let's take a look. Please create D&D stats for the world of American politics.
Creating D&D stats for the world of American politics is a fun and creative idea. Here's a basic framework. 1 classes. Senator, high charisma and intelligence, skilled in persuasion and knowledge of law. Governor, balanced strength and wisdom, adept in leadership and crisis management. Lobbyist, exceptional charisma and dexterity, master in negotiation and influence. High intelligence and wisdom, skilled in investigation and insight. Activist, strong constitution and charisma, passionate and persuasive. 2, races could be different political affiliations or ideologies, each with unique traits. 3 skills, diplomacy, for negotiating and forming alliances. Debate, for engaging in verbal sparring and public speaking. Legislation, for crafting laws and understanding legal complexities. Campaigning, for swaying public opinion and gaining support. 4. Alignment. This could range from lawful, strict adherence to laws and order, to chaotic, believing in change and disruption, with good, neutral, and evil reflecting intentions and methods. 5. Equipment items like gavel of order, pen of legislation, or microphone of influence could grant specific bonuses. 6. Spells and abilities. Filibuster, a long speech that delays action. Grassroots support, summoning a group of supporters to aid in a task. Veto, the power to nullify others' actions. Would you like to go into more detail on any specific aspect?
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I would like to limit it just to politicians, though, and then just focus mostly on the skills and alignment. Yeah, you would have to have some element of money in there, right? Some element of money. Oh, shit. Are we already at 11? God damn. We got to wrap it up. We're trying to get out to Costco before it turns into a shit show. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go get any recommendations for Super Bowl party snacks. What do you guys think? It's not going to be a big party. It's just literally people in our neighborhood because Darren's girlfriend Eva is a Swiftie. So they were like, can we have a Super Bowl party? You guys just know a Super Bowl party. Chili cheese dip. Oh, that's a good one. Dumplings. I mean, because we're looking to just pick up some shit from Costco that we can heat up. Because we're not going to rely on delivery. We're not going to rely on any of that shit. We're just going to, I'm figuring like some wings. And then maybe some fun shit to heat up. Artichoke dip. We got some edibles. Frozen section dumpling. That's a good call, Meryl. All right. We will keep that in mind. Till next time, friends, this is your old pal, Justin Robert Young, saying...